Right, hello again everyone. So I was going to go to the Cars and Coffee meeting this morning, but it was absolutely chucking it down. So change of plan, we've decided to do a car review on my brother's car. This is my brother Rick.
Oh.
His car is a 2004 BMW Z4. It's a 2.5 litre. So there's stupid stats and things like that that us people are interested in. 189 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, give or take. And that's about it. Rick isn't particularly interested in things like that. Rick is just a normal person who you would normally think is buying a normal car, Focus, Mondeo, Mini, something like that. But he decided he wanted a sports car, and that's what we're going to sort of discuss today, really. So if we want to make a move, Rick, we can talk and walk at the same time, as they say, or whatever. Right then, so a little bit of history. This isn't your first sports car, is it? What did you have before this?
No, before this I got a BMW Z3. Went from having like just a Peugeot 106, and then when it come time to like buying a new car, I thought I'm gonna get something that I think will be a bit more fun to drive. Saw a BMW Z3 for sale and just kind of went for it.
Right, champion. And then this Z4 is essentially just an evolution of that, as you sort of outgrew the Z3, or with MLC issues, things like that.
Yeah. So when once I got rid of the Z3, I went to like a Jaguar XJ, was it, or X-Type?
An X-Type.
I can't even remember myself. And yeah, it was a really nice car. It was nice to drive, but there was just something where I was missing the Z3, you know, like the two-seater sports car convertible and stuff. So I ended up like very quickly, like within less than a year, ended up selling the Jaguar and getting the Z4 to, like you say, evolve on from the Z3.
Yeah, belting. So what I'm noticing already, to be honest, is that the camera is wobbling like mad, and it's quite a stiff car. For me personally, I don't mind that sort of thing, but again, as like a non-car enthusiast, shall we say, how do you find sort of the stiffness of a sports car for your day-to-day driving, seeing as this is your only car?
I mean, you definitely feel it. Like, I've driven other cars, like rental cars, things like that, and like I said, when I had the Jaguar, it was a lot smoother of a ride with the better suspension as such, and you can definitely tell this is a stiffer drive, but I don't mind, whether it's just because I'm used to it now, because I drive it all the time. It's just how I'm used to. I know the car, I know all the little bumps, I know to look in the road, and if I see a big divot, avoid it, otherwise it's gonna hurt. And yeah, I don't mind it. Get passengers, they can tell as well, and they say that it feels a lot stiffer and you can feel everything in the road. But I like it, being able to feel everything on the road. You can feel like you're a lot more in control as well.
Yeah, and it's all part of the sports car experience. At the end of the day, you're sitting nice and low. The steering's quite quick on these, I seem to remember. The gear shift's short and stiff throw. Everything's just a general sporty feel. I think the suspension just adds to that, but you know, on long journeys sometimes you never know. This has got actually very comfortable seats though, so I think you could rack the miles up in this no problem. It's somewhere in the middle of a sports car and a GT car. It's very comfortable. So aside from that, your day-to-day running costs, it is a relatively big engine, being a 2.5 litre straight 6. It doesn't bother you fuel economy wise and things like that?
No. I do quite a lot of driving. I'm back and forth to Liverpool a lot with wrestling, and I go on long journeys down to like London, Bath, like or down south, Birmingham, Wolverhampton quite a lot. And no, never have any issues. I just kind of accept that, you know, to run this car it's probably going to cost a bit more, but I don't mind. I enjoy driving the car, I enjoy driving, so that's just part of it.
Right, belting. And then going on from that, not necessarily the day-to-day running costs, but overall running costs of the vehicle. I seem to remember you've had a couple of little issues with the car here and there, but sort of you do, as you've just said, you do quite a lot of miles. So for those that I may not have introduced him properly, Rick, one of his hobbies stroke pastimes is wrestling, like professional wrestling, WWF and all that. And with that, he's up and down the country all the time, so he is racking up the miles. And this is currently on what, 131,000 miles, and Rick has done a lot of those miles. So the keeping the vehicle on the road costs, repairs, things like that, although there has been quite a few of them, none of them have been particularly major, and I would say they're all sort of acceptable for the mileage and when they came around, things like that. Can you remember some of the jobs that you've had done on the car? And I don't seem to remember they were particularly expensive to put right with it.
There's been a few which I think would be considered like large jobs, but to be honest, I don't really remember what they are as such. I remember one was the front axle, is it? On the passenger side.
Yeah.
Possibly the driver's side as well. And yeah, there's not been massive jobs. I think when I bought it, it only had like one previous owner. It'd been kept in really good condition, and I think that's obviously helped keep all the costs down because it was regularly serviced, things like that. And yeah, there's not been much that's had a massive output. You know, a couple of £100 here and there a year and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely acceptable for something like this. So it's the type of car that I think hides its age really well. So it's a 2004 car. I think that was available just before 2004. So you're looking at sort of 15-year-old cars to 20-year-old cars. And sometimes I think people can be put off by the age of a vehicle, and also the fact that it's a BMW. Especially when I was growing up, they were seen as like a prestige vehicle, so you can think, oh hang on, it's going to cost a lot to run and it's going to be braking all the time and this, that and the other. You always used to hear clapped out BMWs and this, that and the other was a term that get thrown around. So Rick, not even being really a car enthusiast, although he does enjoy driving, hasn't gone through that experience whatsoever. It's not his first BMW, and the previous one was much of the same story. It's they're very affordable. They're not particularly expensive to buy in the first place, and they're not particularly expensive to keep on the road. I definitely think it's a good sports car. It's give you probably 8/10 of what my car gives me. It's relatively quick. It's definitely a sporty feel. I think it's been a really good car and give you that sports car experience without you spending an arm and a leg. So again, if you're on a budget, if you can't afford, you know, 30 grand on a really nice sports car, or you can't afford, like mine, 15 grand for a fairly nice sports car, if your budget is 5 grand or less, absolutely I would recommend one of these or something like this. There's other cars in the sector you could consider, things like an Audi TT, an SLK, all those type of cars. They're all much of a muchness at the end of the day, in my opinion. They're all German, they're all of a certain age, but they're all screwed together properly. And in our experience, as I say, Rick's had a couple of them, I've had a couple of them. You shouldn't be scared or put off by these things. If you're on a budget and you're driving something like a Mini and you're a boy racer trying to put loads of money into making your Mini better, I wouldn't bother. I'd just get rid of it and buy a car that's designed to be a sports car in the first place. That's certainly my experience from modifying cars when I was a kid. And as I say, Rick, not particularly being a car guy, isn't into sticking big wheels and lowering his car and this, that and the other, and he's blown away by the performance of this car, really. Right, so we've got rid of Rick now, so I'm going to take the car out and see what I think of it. So just reverse out of this little space we're in, and away we go. So again, performance figures. It's supposed to be 189 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, which is significantly less than my car. It's about 100 and 10 brake horsepower down, and about probably 2 seconds 0 to 60 less than mine. Can you feel it? Yeah, you can feel that it's less powerful, but it's still certainly on the sporty side. As I say, it's a 2.5 litre Street 6 sports car. It'll get going, especially if it's your first sports car. It's a great car. It's fairly lightweight, I think about 1300 kilos, something like that. Rear wheel drive, obviously the engine's out the front, so it's very predictable. It's nowhere near as snappy as my car can be at times, trying to catch out, going around corners and things like that. The actual sort of handling of it, to be honest, the back is a bit wayward, in my opinion. Well, maybe that's because I'm just used to all the weight now being back over those back wheels, whereas in this, obviously the weight is at the front and the back will step out on you, but it's very, very controllable. So even though it's very lightweight at the back, it moves around a lot, I notice. My car feels planted and solid. I feel like I've been spoiled as of late by driving a Porsche, I'll be honest with you. This is, as I think I said earlier, probably 8/10 of my car, but it certainly doesn't cost 8/10 of my car. It costs a lot less, especially for this specific car anyway. Brand new, I don't think they're a million miles off each other, but as a second-hand prospect, this is a great car. The other added bonus to this car is the roof comes down. Now today obviously it's hammering down, it's no use to me today, but on a sunny day, crack the roof, you're laughing. Build quality on it, it's belting. You couldn't ask for much more. It's better than Corsas, Fiestas, things of that nature. And I realise those type of cars have the place, you know, when I was young once upon a time, and those are the type of cars that we all used to own. But as I get older, I'm able to insure different things and things like that, and I realise I probably made a mistake spending all that money on small hatchbacks. I should have got into something like this. So if you're a 20-odd-year-old lad and you want the driving experience, if actual driving is what you're chasing, believe me, this is way better than anything than like a Fiesta ST and what have you. Those cars can be quick, don't get me wrong, and they can look good when you've got big wheels on them and all that type of stuff. But to actually drive as an actual experience, this is way better. This blows them out of the water. What else can I say? I don't really know. If we're looking for negatives, it's a little bit impractical being 2 seats. The boot isn't the biggest in the world. It's a little bit noisy and rattly. I'm not sure what the camera's picking up as we go around, but this car's got an horrible rattle to it, which Rick's supposed to have been coming into the garage and sorting for a number of weeks. But Rick also has an extremely busy life and a very, I don't know what you want to say, the type of job where he can't just have a day off, and if work rings he has to go in even on his day off. And let's have a quick demonstration while I've got a little break in the rain of how quick the roof goes down and back up again. So all we're doing is pressing this one button down here, and that's all you need to press on this car. There's no catches and things like that to release. You just press that, windows go down, the roof opens, and we're done. What was that, 5 seconds, something like that. Rain's coming back, so we'll go back up. And that's your lock. Put the windows up and we're done. That's not too bad, is it, for a 15-year-old car? I think that's quicker than most supercars put their roofs up. So, you know, another one in another tick in the box of the Z4. What else can I cover about this car? I'm not sure. Maybe room in the cabin. So I'm somewhere in the region of 6'2", 6'3". I've got enough headroom, even with this hat on. Look, the space above my head. The only bit I've got a little bit of an issue is where my left knee is, what you probably can't see on the camera, just touches the dash where it comes out like a convex thing. That's my only gripe on the car. If that's my only gripe, it's not doing too bad for itself, is it? And that's about it. I don't really have an whole lot more to say other than I definitely recommend the car. And anything like this, again, I think we alluded to before, SLKs, Audi TTs, even potentially a Boxster. A Boxster really is just a Cayman like my car with the roof cut off. I would recommend any of them. They're all great cars in the second-hand market anyway. I don't know as I would spend the money on a brand new one, but certainly second-hand, they do the job and then some. So that's it. That's the end of the video.